Okay, the Egyptian people have developed many methods to actual calculation, but the reason that they need those formulas and methods is for real practical purpose. They want to measuring or calculating how many kind of uh, sheep and how many cows and some grains they have or something like that, right? So it's most likely very practical purpose. So they actually have many real practical questions and showing how to calculate it. Okay? So let's just practice through their question, okay? And see how they really calculate it. Once again, what we are going to do is using our own numeric symbols and sometimes some method, right, for actual calculation like that. So what we are doing is much easier and simpler and faster way compared to what they actually did. Okay, but it's still really complicated, right? So you can see how our method is how much is clever and really kind of best way to do it, right? Please compare these two. Okay, now let's look at and they call this is the first assumption method or method first position. Okay? So they're just assuming the kind of any random number as a result and try to calculate after that because they didn't have really uh, good way of division and multiplication or something like that, right? So the question is like this. Uh, they have a quantity, we don't know what it is, and adding up with its 1/7 amount. And they know the result becomes 17 units, right? Whatever the unit is. Then they're looking for what is the original quantity, right? So in our method, in our tradition, our own style, modern style is just put x notation for that quantity and looking for the values of this x. Then we can translate the meaning of that thing is the original amount and 1/7 of it. So 1/7 times x equals 17. Or after we simplified on the left hand side, we got 8/7x equals 17. And of course, in our own method, we can calculate this one easily like that, right? Okay, but remember, they didn't have such things, right? So, how can they figure out that answer? Let's look at this case. This is explanation of what they did. They actually falsely assuming that 7 is the for x, right? They just assume it. And the only reason why they do that here is, and please remember this, you might need this method for doing all the practice and homeworks. Because the denominator of this notation is 7. So when you're assuming the value for x is 7, we see really nice cancellation for that, right? So it's not really random number they choose, right? There's a reason for that. So you can think they assume 7 for x, then the left hand side, let me write down over here, x equals 17. On the left hand side of this equation, it changed 8 instead of the result of 7, right? 17. Then, because the calculate value is 8, right now, the left hand side, so when you're assuming that, then it becomes 8, right? The left hand side portion, okay, times 8. Then you must multiply by 17/8 to obtain the required value 17, right? So we want to get the 17, so we need to multiply 17 over 8 to cancel out this thing, right? So we need to get multiply by 17/8, and that's depending on what we get, right? But so the result is 17, and right now the left hand side is x, right? So that's combination of this one. to get 70, right? So the correct value for that is by multiplying by 7 over there again. So it becomes 17/8. So altogether, the real amount, x, is 7 times 17 over 8, which is 119 over 8. Okay? Please thinking about it. Okay? So let me show you here how it's going to work. So the original one was 8 sevens times x. Now we're just assuming 8 sevens times, assuming 7. Okay? Okay? Of course, it's not really 7, so there must be some other stuff, right? Just think that one, but it becomes 8 times that, right? Which is not 17. That's what we are looking for. This is not 17. So let's just multiply 17 over 8 to make 70, right? So because that is a false assumption, so we need some correction of it, which we don't know yet. But after we got that result, looks like we got 8, right? But we are looking for 17, so we need that correction by multiplying 17, 18. Then it should be have that in there, right? So the x becomes actually 7 times whatever that correction number, right? And which is 17/8, right? So that x must be 7 times 17/8. So that is what they did. Okay? And once again, but still, this whole notation and explanations are really easy to follow and easy calculation, but for them, this is another big problem, right? Okay, so right now, that's it, right? This is kind of false method, okay, to get the answer. But the last question is not really related, but let's just write down this result in their own format. Let's just practice one more time, right? So to calculate 119 over 8, we have to do 1 and 8, right? And doubling method, 16, 32, 64, and double of 64 is 128, which is greater than 119. So we start there, right? And let's start adding up. It's 96, and adding up this is 112, right? But when you're adding this much, becomes 120, which is greater than 119. So we are not gonna adding up this line, right? So we all need these 3 lines. So altogether, it becomes 112, right? That's our entire sum, and that is 14, right? Okay, so when you have 119 minus 112, then it becomes 7, right? So which means that 119 over 8 is, when you add this, it's 14, right? So 14 plus 7 over 8, right? So all we need is how to get this 7 over 8. The Fibonacci method is good, right? So let's just apply that. So to get 7 over 8, we take the reciprocal of it and get the ceiling of that value, right? Then it's 1 point something. So ceiling of that number should be 2. So that is our n. Okay, so our a over b should be original fraction minus 1 over n, right? So it's 14 minus 8 over 16. So it's 6 over 16. If you can reduce, please do, right? So it's going to be 3 over 8, right? So let's just check at this moment. That value that we are looking for, that fraction form, is actually 1/2 plus box. And the box is that So we got this much. But we need to change that form again. So let's take reciprocal and ceiling of it. Then it's about 2 point something. So that in ceiling value must be 3. So the box equals that 3/8 minus 1/3, right? So it's going to be 9 minus 8 over 24, which is 1 over 24. Okay, good. Be careful. Then the meaning is from there, 3/8 is same as 1/3 plus 1/24, right? So if we put these two conditions together, we got 7/8 is 1/2 plus 1/3 plus 1/24, right? So because of that, the 119 over 8 is 14 plus 1/2 plus 1/3 plus 1 over 24.